Hey guys, I hope that this finds you well. I'm going to try something new today and just see how this goes and see how we like this. Today we are going to just start looking at the rhetorical analysis prompt. We know that that is going to be the question on the exam. And even if you're not taking the exam, it's really good to always be thinking about who is my speaker, what's their purpose, who is my audience in any text that you're evaluating. So this will be something that's good for everybody. So we are going to start. Today we are probably just going to look at the prompt, and you'll have one small assignment after you get done watching this video that you need to check out. It's uploaded in Google Classroom, and I'll kind of explain that all as we get there, but it shouldn't be anything too crazy for today. Alrighty, so we're going to call this attacking the rhetorical analysis free response question because you guys are beasts and you are going to attack it. Alrighty, next slide. So in your rhetorical analysis response, you should always be doing these things. To be honest, I really feel like you guys did these all first semester and it shouldn't be anything new to you. We're going to do lots of examples, look at samples, evaluate together. I have a lot of good information from AP College Board that I'm going to send your way. I think that this is a good thing for us. Okay, so when you're doing these, a lot of this might be review, you should respond to the prompt with a thesis that analyzes the writer's rhetorical choices. So remember, you're going to read that speech or that letter. You're going to decide what was that writer doing, what choices was that writer making in order to further his or her purpose. You will select and use evidence to develop and support your line of reasoning. So you obviously have to be pulling pieces of the text to present as evidence to your reason or whatever you picked as the purpose. You need to explain the relationship between evidence and your thesis. That's what really rounds out your essay. It's kind of like just another way of saying that, so what? So you brought me this great evidence, so what? Why do I care? Connect it back to your thesis and show us what it is doing to boost your thesis. You want to demonstrate an understanding of the rhetorical situation, and we're going to talk a little bit about that just even within the prompt today. And then you'll also obviously be thinking about the rhetorical situation of the entire text. And use appropriate grammar and punctuation in communicating your argument. So one thing about this is, while AP understands that you're only getting 45 minutes to write this essay. So you shouldn't be thinking you're going to be turning in an essay that you've had days and days to edit and rewrite and reanalyze and redo. That being said, you want to do your best to have appropriate grammar and punctuation, but know that they understand you do have 45 minutes to do this. So instead of spending like 20 minutes of that editing, it's going to be more important that you demonstrate you understand the rhetorical analysis aspects and that you've conveyed the author's purpose and how you got there, more importantly than the grammar side. So just keep that in mind. Alrighty, so there is always common wording on the prompt, and you guys have probably noticed this before. All rhetorical analysis prompts will use similar language. It always will look something like this. So they're going to have some kind of background on the rhetorical situation. They will then say, read the passage carefully, write an essay that analyzes the rhetorical choices the writer makes to develop, achieve, or convey his or her argument, purpose, or message. So this last part, it's interesting. I've been reading and watching a lot of the stuff that they're putting out through AP College Board right now, and they talk a lot about how that last section is kind of like a hint, which I think is an interesting way. So that underlined part there, it's like where AP is actually going to be giving you some kind of information or direction to help you get into the reading. So I'm going to call it a hint. So in other words, pay close attention to the prompt. I know that this is probably super nerdy, but I stand by it. The prompt is your friend. The prompt can help you. I know it's easy to open it up, read it and think, holy cow, I don't know this word, I don't know that word, but the prompt is there to help you. They spend a ton of time analyzing these prompts before they ever roll them out. They give them test runs and they make it because they want you to know what the prompt is talking about so that they can get a good view of what your writing is like. So always remember, the prompt is your friend. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this prompt. Oh, I think this was a 2018 one that they used. So the prompt we're evaluating today is, in 1997, the United States Secretary Madeleine Albright gave the commencement speech to the graduating class of Mount Holyoke College, a women's college in Massachusetts. Read the passage carefully. Write an essay that analyzes the rhetorical choices Albright makes to convey her message about the importance of perseverance. So I'm going to flip back to our last slide really quickly, but you guys can see that it almost exactly hits those, just that, even that structure that we looked at in the last slide. So you can see the light yellow part is the rhetorical situation. It's kind of like a tiny little summary. And then the underlined part is your hint or your direction. So we know she's going to be talking about perseverance and why it's important. So right off the bat, we have that idea in our heads. This one, I don't think there's a ton in there that might make people just nervous in terms of not knowing some of the words. But just as an example, like let's say you got hung up on the commencement speech. You don't know what a commencement speech is. That totally could happen. It's a big word. I think that if you read the context clues around it, for example, like a graduating class, you're going to get ideas about what a commencement speech is. So if you remember that artifice one we looked at, it was similar. If you would read the entire prompt and stop and think for a second, you could figure out that artifice meant like a clever way to like kind of trick people into something, and it didn't really matter if you didn't know that specific word as long as you could use context clues. So just thinking about this one, if you didn't know what commencement was, you would probably know what it means to have a graduating class, so you could use the context clues to help out. So the prompt is your friend. Get what you can from the prompt. Okay, so sorry, I'm trying to flip slides here. Alrighty, so this is where you are going to need to go into Google Classroom and find this assignment. I titled it SOAPStone Prompt Eval, and it should be right there and easy for you to find. So you're going to look back at that prompt, and it will be actually on the assignment page too, so you don't have to flip back through the slides unless you really want to. And you're going to actually fill out a SOAPStone flashback just on the prompt. Now it might not give you everything that super easily, because like you're gonna just read that time, it might be like 2 sentences, and you're gonna try to answer a soapstone out of it. But the idea is that you are going to take that 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it is to read that prompt, figure out what's being said here, what the prompt wants you to know, and jump in to the essay or the speech or the letter, whatever it is, with a little bit more background in you. So when you're sitting there thinking, what is her purpose? You've already done some build up to that. So if you need it, I also included a review of SOAPStone. So speaker, that's the voice that tells the story. You want to decide whose voice is going to be heard. In this case, it's said right in the prompt. The occasion, the time and place of the piece, the context that prompted the writing. Remember, that one's always kind of tricky. You don't just want like, oh, it was on March 31st or whatever day it was. You want to know like what was happening in the world, what emotions were coming around, what was the environment of her ideas before you sit down. Who is the audience? A group of readers who the piece is directed to. As they begin to write, you want to make sure that you're considering those people. I think audience is huge. I know you guys have heard me say that before, but who is this piece directed to? Because that comes insanely important when you're trying to figure out a purpose. Then we have, what is the purpose, the reason behind the text? Consider the purpose of the text in order to develop the thesis or argument its logic. Ask yourselves, what do I want my audience to think or do as a result of reading this text? So that's going to be more of a tricky one when you're just looking at the prompt, but maybe you can kind of make a hypothesis about that and also kind of go back to what I talked about as usually the hint part of the prompt. What is the subject? You should be able to state the subject in a few words. It just helps you focus on the task at hand. And tone. Tone is going to be almost impossible to find just in a prompt, but maybe you could try to imagine if you were giving a commencement speech, what specific tones might you want to use, especially if it's a speech about perseverance. Okay, so go back into Google Classroom and you will find the assignment waiting there for you. And I will kind of check in with you tomorrow and Wednesday. There'll be some new stuff uploaded, but we're going to then work with this same piece throughout the week and just work through how to analyze the text, kind of similar to what we've done with the prompt. But for today, we're just starting with that prompt, and I will be in contact with you guys. I really miss you. I hope that this finds you, everybody's healthy and has what they need, but just know that you guys can always let me know if you do need something. So I will be in touch. See you guys later.